Welcome to Strange But True. Take a breath, slow down, and listen carefully. Some stories are documented, some are debated, some refuse to be explained. We tell you the stories. You decide what's true. Now, let's begin our journey. In 1901, sponge divers working off the coast of a small Greek island descended toward a shipwreck resting on the sea floor. The wreck appeared Roman. Statues lay scattered in the sand. Coins were recovered. Fragments of wood and bronze surfaced slowly. Nothing about the cargo suggested anything unusual. It looked like the remains of a merchant vessel, valuable objects, standard trade goods, items consistent with the period. But among the corroded remains was an object that did not resemble sculpture, ornament, or tool. It was a compact mass of bronze and decay. At first, it was treated as debris. Only later, after the fragments began to separate, did researchers notice something unexpected. Inside the corrosion were gears, not decorative gears, not symbolic shapes, interlocking bronze gears, cut with precision, mounted within what had once been a wooden case. As the fragments were examined more closely, the complexity became clear. The device originally contained at least 30 gears, possibly more. Some rotated at different speeds, others reversed direction. Several were connected to dials marked with engraved symbols and text. The inscriptions were not ceremonial, they were technical. They referenced cycles, intervals, predicted movements. This was not an artistic object, and it was not a demonstration piece. It was built to calculate. Further analysis showed that the mechanism tracked celestial patterns, the movement of the sun, the phases of the moon, the progression of months and years. One dial followed the metonic cycle, a 19-year period used to align lunar months with solar years. Another tracked the Saros cycle, a repeating pattern used to predict eclipses. These were not loose correlations. They were exact relationships encoded mechanically. The device could predict eclipses years in advance. It could also calculate them backward in time. The calculations were not approximate. They matched known astronomical cycles with precision. What unsettles historians is not that ancient people observed the sky. It is that this device converts observation into mechanical certainty. The gears reflect mathematical ratios. The dials reflect standardized cycles. The layout reflects efficiency. Someone understood these systems deeply enough to reduce them into moving parts, and they trusted the result. The ship carrying the device sank sometime in the 1st century BCE, but the knowledge required to build it did not originate there. This was not experimental, it was confident. The gear teeth were evenly spaced, the ratios were deliberate, the components were integrated. Nothing about the mechanism suggests trial and error. Yet no surviving ancient text describes its construction. No manual explains how the gears were designed. No workshop records survive. No inventor is named. Ancient authors wrote extensively about astronomy. They described celestial theory. They debated planetary motion. They catalogued stars. They measured angles. They argued over models of the heavens, but none describe a device like this. The mechanism appears fully formed, and then it disappears. There is no account of its use, no reference to its failure, no mention of it being replaced or improved. The historical record does not react to its absence. When complex gear-driven devices appear again in the historical record, more than 1,000 years have passed. The gap is not explained. The record does not describe improvement. It does not describe decline. It does not describe loss. No transition is recorded. No failure is acknowledged. No memory of the device is preserved. Later civilizations tracked the same celestial movements, but they did so differently, with tables, with diagrams, with written calculation. The approach changes. The mechanism does not sit at the beginning of a known technological tradition, and it does not sit at the end. It stands alone, preserved by accident, recovered by chance, recognized only after its context was gone. The record tells us what the device could do. It does not tell us who built it, why it was made, or why nothing like it is mentioned again. The knowledge does not vanish in catastrophe. It is not rejected. It is not debated. It is simply not recorded. History has a way of hiding the truth inside what it chooses not to explain. Inside tales, inside myths, inside legends, inside things that feel just a little off. If this story held your attention, subscribe to Strange But True, because sometimes what sounds unbelievable is exactly where the truth hides.